This is a homework help video for Advanced Algebra, Chapter 1, Lesson 5. We're going to look at 5 problems today. First two ask us to solve two inequalities and write the solutions in set builder and interval notation. So I'll start by solving. What you have to remember is you're going to do the same steps that you would if there was an equation. So I noticed in number 26, I have a 5 before some parentheses. That means 5 times something. I will divide both sides by 5 to cancel that out. 5's cancel. 90 divided by 5 is 18. And now I have 18 is greater than or equal to 2r plus 6. I'll go through and I'll solve like if there was an equation there. I'll take away 6 from both sides. I now have 12 is greater than or equal to 2r. I'll divide both sides by 2. And I get 6 is greater than or equal to r. Now, if I don't like the way that looks, I don't like the number on the left, variable on the right, I'll flip it around and I'll say r is less than or equal to 6. Now there's my solution. I want to write now that solution in set builder and interval notation. I'm going to abbreviate here. Set builder and interval. When it comes to the set builder, I start with a curly brace for sets, and I start by saying what variable was in the inequality. Oh, it was the variable r. So I want the set of r's such that, just a vertical line, r is less than or equal to 6. I write down my answer. Set builder notation, again, the way you'd read that. The set of r's such that r is less than or equal to 6. For interval notation, I write down the range of numbers that would make this inequality true. And the range of numbers would go from 6 all the way down to negative infinity. Okay, what do I need around those two things? Because I want things that are smaller than 6. That's why I went down to negative infinity. Well, I can never reach negative infinity. So I have a parenthesis. I can reach, and then I do want to include 6 because it was r is less than or equal to. Because of the or equal to, I have a bracket. I can get to 6. I want to include 6 as part of my solution set, as part of my answer. So it gets a bracket instead of a parenthesis. Number 36, I have a fraction. I don't want to deal with fractions. How could I get rid of it? Well, I get rid of it the same way as if there was an equal sign there. I will multiply to get rid of that division. I'm dividing by 5. I will then multiply both sides by 5. 5's cancel, and I have 1 minus 4p is less than 1. No more fraction. I'll go through and I'll solve, like if there was just an equal sign there, subtract 1, divide by negative 4. I take away 1 from both sides. I have that. Now when I divide, I'm dividing by a negative number. I'm going to divide by a negative 4. And one of the things that's unique when I'm solving inequalities is that when you divide by negative numbers, I have to remember to switch, flip, change my inequality. That's why I wrote p is greater than 0. That's my answer. Now I have to write in those two forms. Set builder and interval. Set builder. I want the set of p's such that p is greater than 0. Interval notation. I want to start at 0. That's the smallest possible answer. And I want to go and get bigger and bigger and bigger all the way to positive infinity. Okay, so now I take a look at my inequality. I want numbers, I want p's that are greater than 0. That means I do not want to include 0, hence a parenthesis. I want to keep getting larger, larger through positive infinity. I can never get to positive infinity. So that gets a parenthesis as well. No brackets, because I don't want to include 0, and I can never get to negative infinity. Infinity, negative infinity, always get parentheses, never brackets. Next one we're going to look at is number 40. Number 40 is a story problem about someone going to a state fair and they want to know how many rides you can go on, based on spending money on food and how much a ride costs, how much money they have. So they give you this inequality, they ask you to solve it and then interpret your results, really. So if I go through and I solve it, I'll start by subtracting 13.25 from both sides. And then I get 1.5n is less than or equal to 21.75. I'll divide by 1.5. And I end up with n is less than or equal to 14.5. Now remember, this is a story problem, it has context. So you have to interpret what this means. N stands for the number of rides. There is no such thing as half rides. 0.5 a ride, impossible. They're not going to kick you out halfway through a carnival ride. So, Juan, who's the person from the story problem, can afford no more than 14 rides. In this case, decimals, fractions do not make sense in context of the problem. So when we say n is less than or equal to 14.5, because of the story problem of writing in amusement rides in a state fair, we only want to deal with whole numbers. And the next whole number in our solution set would be 14. Next one we're going to look at is number 48, another story problem. Didn't copy the whole problem, we wrote down some of the pertinent information. Now I said n is going to be the number of cars sold. You could use any variable that you wanted. It says somewhere in there that we get a base salary of $24,000. We get a 1.5% commission on whatever we sell. 1.5% is that as a decimal, 0.015. And then we also want an income of at least $40,000. For number 48, we're supposed to write an equation or an inequality that would describe this situation. So we got to write an inequality that is going to tell us how many cars we have to sell to make at least $40,000 in income. Well, we get $24,000 no matter what. It's our base salary. Whether we sell one car or a million cars, we get 24 grand. To that, we are going to add our commission. We get 1.5%, so I wrote it as a decimal, of whatever we sell in terms of car value. Now they tell you the average car price, and I didn't write this down, I should have. The average car price that she sells is $30,500. We don't know how many cars of those she sold. That we want to be at least, so greater than or equal to, $40,000. So now in red I have an equation that I could, or inequality that I could solve to figure out how many cars she has to sell, which is exactly what they want you to do with 49. So I'll go through and I'll solve that. I'm going to subtract 24,000 from both sides. I subtract 24,000 from both sides. That's where I'm getting 16 grand from, 40,000 minus 24,000. I'm going to multiply 0.015 times 30,500n, and I'll get 457.5 n is greater than or equal to 16,000. I'll divide both sides by the 457.5, and I get n is greater than or equal to 34.97. Now again, this is a story problem. It has context. This is 34.97 cars. Is it possible to sell someone 0.97 of a car? Absolutely not. So, this person is going to have to sell at least 35 cars. It's supposed to be a C there. At least 35 cars in order to make at least $40,000.